The Breakfast Flakes podcast brought to you by the Blue Cat Bar and Grill, next to the Roadside Event Center in Huntley. The Blue Cat, it's where it's at.
523, Mark and Paul in on game day. Get rid of the last of the bull ride tickets today. That's always a big event. People excited about it. Even people that aren't big rodeo people like to go because it's a big social event. Also, they sell beer. 29 degrees downtown. I got more uninvited telephone calls yesterday than I've gotten in years. And talking to Paul about it, they call him all the time, the USDA does, for these agricultural surveys. Well, they called me 4 times yesterday. And I'm watching Guardians of the Galaxy last night because even when she's green, that Zoe Saldana's pretty hot. But it was during a commercial, and they called, so I pick up the phone. Nice lady calling me from Helena. Mr. Wilson, have you got a couple minutes to answer some questions? I said, sure. You still live at this address? Yes. Is this still your email? Yes. You obviously have my phone number. Over the last 12 months, have you sold any livestock? I said, well, I bought a couple of cute little heifers some drinks.
There you go.
But I've never owned livestock. She goes, did you sell all your acreage? I said, well, how much acreage do you think I have? And she gave me some number. I said, lady, I got about 20,000 square feet of grass. I don't have farmland. I don't have anything agriculture. I am the biggest city kid you will ever run into. Now, I work with the guy that sells livestock. I can hook up with him. And she was, well, I don't know how you got on our list. I said, well, did you take me off that list and not call me 4 times a day?
Look, I'm famous for my used cars. That's what you should have told her.
I should have.
I'm famous for my used cars now that I'm no longer quarterbacking the Raiders.
So, as of last night, I am officially out of agriculture. Some of you gals might make this drive. Jason Momoa, who plays Aquaman in the movies, is coming to Montana. He is going to make an appearance at Belgrade Liquor.
Who?
Jason Momoa, Aquaman, not your kind of movie. He and his buddy are co-founders of Melly Vodka, which is distilled and bottled in Bozeman. There's more places making whiskey and vodka and all that kind of stuff anymore, but he'll be over there. As Granny Wilson used to say, if you want to get your picture made, April 21st, over in Belgrade.
A little chilly this morning. It was 20 when I left the ranch.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I guess I had 23 at the house.
Although my day didn't start that way.
Oh, no.
As I got up this morning to, as I do every day, I let the dogs out right away and then I feed them. And as I approached the brand new front throw rug there by the front door,
Did you get that Scotch guarded?
it wouldn't have mattered.
Oh, no.
Sophie had another rectal eclipse on that. I almost took a picture to bring it to you, but I knew you would throw up. At first, the dogs have about a 6-foot-long tug of war rope that they play with.
Okay.
And I thought she had drugged that rope over to the front door because there was a complete circle on my throw rug by the front door. And I thought, oh, she left her rope there. Until, Mr. Wilson, I turned the light on.
Oh.
Have you ever seen those slime guns they use like in Ghostbusters or something? You know that... I had a almost complete circle on that rug.
Oh, no.
Probably 5 feet long. So I folded that up into quarters and threw that one out in the front yard.
Time for a new rug.
Time for another new rug, Wilson. Because she's a poop eater. And yesterday, I found her gnawing on a chunk of cattle lick tub. Once they get to the bottom of the lick tub and the cows are licking it, it gets real thin and then chunks of it break out of there.
Okay.
And she was able to reach through the fence and grab a chunk of it. And I think she ate the whole chunk. And I mean salad shooter this morning. So that's how my day started.
Nice.
And I keep yelling at her and stuff. You can't keep them from doing it.
No.
And I mean, I can't. What am I going to do? Keep her locked up and in the house her whole life?
No.
I'm not going to do that to an animal. So that was a waste of money. I'm throwing that one away. Well, why don't you put it in the water? Tell you what, folks, you can have it. You can put it in your washing machine and clean it up.
If you want to do the work.
That's right.
Take it to the car wash, spray it off first.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, my.
Forget it. Oh, my God. So that's how my morning started. And I still haven't convinced that cow to take that twin yet. I'm still working on it. She's still kind of half kicks it and I got to get her out because she's not getting the feed she needs and she's getting thin now. So I turned her out into the corral last night and told her, eat something. God, I thought, you're treating her like everybody treats you. God, Paul, eat a cheeseburger.
I'm just saying.
And the cow, but the difference is the cow can't flip me off. They have hooves. Oh, yeah, that's right. She's going to give me a hoof if I keep
Hey,
yelling.
farmer, this is
Yeah,
for you.
that's right. Give me a hoof. So... And once again, folks, as we talked about early yesterday in our early morning discussions, they're kind of like the old fireside chats from the 30s and 40s. But yesterday we were talking about how KTVQ, Color 8, and the paper, after the story came out about Sheehy leading Jon Tester in Montana in a recent polls, all of a sudden the ruined Sheehy media blitz started.
Yeah.
With KTVQ doing a story. And then I get here today and I'm printing up my stories and searching for news and information. And I just went on to the Gazette website there. And the headline today, Sheehy's business is struggling. Mm-hmm. That's because he can't print money like the government. What about our government? The one that Jon Tester is currently help running. They're $34 trillion in debt right now. How come we don't have an article in there that says U.S. government struggling? How come? And guess who's leading it? Jon Tester. Yeah. Jon Tester is one. If you look at government, folks, like a business, they're broke. Everybody should be unemployed. They should all be on unemployment. And the government, our U.S. government, they should file for bankruptcy. If you want to look at our government like a business, and the 535 executives that are running it, including Jon Tester, should all be fired, right?
If it was a private business, they would be, Paul.
Yes, if you want to look at it that way. So, hey, Gazette, you bunch of... Why don't you put a headline in there tomorrow? U.S. government bankrupt, struggling, and put an article in there about how Jon Tester is one of the executives and has led us into bankruptcy. Mm-hmm. You could do that, could they?
I wrote a very interesting article along those lines yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah. You got to have equal time on radio and TV. Mm-hmm. So Jon Tester comes in on our show and we interview him for 22 minutes. Then we have to bring in Sheehy and let him have 22 minutes. Mm-hmm. Paper doesn't have to do that. And our paper here, for being in such a huge conservative area, is very liberal. And those are the candidates they support.
Yeah. Sheehy's business struggling. There's a lot of businesses out there right now that are struggling. Inflation is killing them.
Yeah.
And Jon Tester's part of that. You know what Jon Tester just voted for? Jon Tester just voted for that new omnibus bill to keep the government running, which was, folks, another $1.2 trillion of government spending. And you know what he threw in there? Yeah, Jon Tester. With our country currently bankrupt and broke, he threw in another $23 million for some public lands thing in Montana to support these public lands. And we're broke.
We are.
He did it. Put an article on that guy in the paper of how he has bankrupted America.
Yeah.
America's government struggling. Put that in your headline. U.S. government broke. U.S. government files Chapter 11. Put it in there and show all the CEOs of our government that should be fired. Should be fired. Tester should be fired. Biden shouldn't even have been in there. After I found out yesterday about his daughter, Ashley, and what she wrote, and how he would join her in the shower, they knew he was a pig. He was a schmuck. He's a dirty criminal sloth. He's been that way his whole life. He's dumb. He's milked the system. He's a pervert, sexual assaulter. Even Kamala Harris admitted it during the campaign when he ran the first time. Doesn't matter. He's their guy.
Right.
But why don't you start doing some fair articles? Billings Gazette. Jon Tester, responsible for America being broke. He is voting for all of these spending measures, and it's bankrupted our business. The business of America is bankrupt. Did you see the inflation numbers yesterday, folks? They're awful. Awful. Your prices, since Joe Biden has taken office, have gone up an average. Now, this is an average. We know what averages are. That means some are higher, some are lower. Things are costing you 19.4% more now than they did when he took office. And that was about 40 months ago. So in 40 months, the cost of you renting, driving, auto insurance, eating, fuel, everything. Now, some has gone up higher. Fuel, for instance, has gone up more than 19.4% since he took
But they never
off.
include those notes.
By the way, folks, don't forget that Joe Biden and his cronies, they have depleted our strategic oil reserves. We're in big trouble there. But Sheehy's business is struggling. And they don't do an article on America and Jon Tester voting for all of this spending. funny because Chuck Schumer likes how John Tester's lips feel on his rump. He loves that feeling. And all of the Democrat senators have tasted Chuck Schumer's butt at one point or another. Well, that's a little harsh. Yeah, well, then fire me. It's Montana.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that agree with it.
America is struggling more than Sheehy's business, I can tell you that. Let me give you a little information about inflation, folks, because they're not taught about inflation in school anymore. I was kind of wondering about this on the way into town today as I was thinking about some show prep and thinking about inflation numbers, and I know how it's affected my business. My business in these times of higher prices. For those of you that don't know, I farm and ranch for a living, and I have a little more than 6 chickens and 3 goats and a bum calf, all in a pony.
Yeah.
I have a little more than that. Like many farms and ranches, we're all struggling too. Why don't you pick an article and do an article on us and tell people in Montana how all farmers and ranchers must be really stupid because they're struggling right now. See, that's the point.
Yeah.
That's the point. And look what Tester has done to America. He's bankrupted us. So anyway, back to the inflation thing. People don't understand how inflation works. So all we do is we just keep printing money. Spending and printing money, and we're chasing the same amount of goods and services, which is inflation. And they don't care. They don't care. They like the flavor of Chuck Schumer's rear end. And the more that they enjoy it, the wealthier they become. So I went in to look at our U.S. Mint and Treasury. I thought it'd be interesting to know how much money these guys are printing and putting out in the system every day. And all of the money in the United States, folks, is printed by the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. It's not the Treasury Department. It's not the U.S. Mint. It's the Bureau of Engraving and Printing. And they're printing every day, every single day, every day. They are printing $541 million.
Good Lord.
That's $500 million, over $500 million a day. New money. Now, keep in mind, folks, here's something else to keep in mind about inflation. Keep in mind how much cash is being used less and less and less every day in America.
Right.
All right? It's different than 1940. Now, people don't use cash anymore. They're not using cash like they used to. They use cards, they use debit cards, they use Venmo, they use PayPal. They use everything besides cash. And we've got those presses cranked up and are printing it out as fast as those presses will run. $500 million a day. Now, what does that mean? Well, here's the thing. The amount of total goods and services that we produce in the United States is not increasing. It's flat. So every day, we're adding $500 million in currency, chasing those same amount of goods and services that are available. And plus all the spending that John Tester and all the other Schumer ass kissers are doing, and Republicans as well, all that extra trillions, which are just digital numbers that they're throwing in there, all chasing the same amount of goods and services. And that's why you're getting inflation so high. We are to the point now in America, folks, where government, John Tester, Chuck Schumer, Joe Biden, all the bureaus, all the bureaucracy, government is growing faster than our total economic output. That's right. Government is growing faster than the economy is growing. So government is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and spending more and more and more. And the goods and services we have and what we generate as an economy, as a nation, is behind. We're falling behind. That's why every month I tell you how many brand new government employees we add every month. Government is growing faster than any industry, any sector of our economy. Everything in America, government is growing faster. A nation can't survive with that. Last month, 71,000 new employees were added on government payrolls. And folks, we're doing it every month. A city larger than Bozeman worth of government workers every single month. We're adding those over the last 3.5 years. It's growing faster than the economy. It's killing us. That's about $7 billion worth of wages and benefits every month that we're adding to the government debt, payrolls, long-term retirement, benefits every month. Every month. And we're printing this money every month. It's growing faster than anything we're producing in America. And they've got an article today about how Tim Sheehy's business is struggling. struggling. We're the ones that are broke, America. And they did it. And Tester did it. Put his fat picture on there instead of Sheehy's. Show him. Show what he's done in 18 years. We had $10 trillion in debt when he was elected. We're at 34, 35 trillion now. Show his picture in there, you phonies. Inflation will not go down until our economy gets rolling, catches up, and passes what government is doing. It's the opposite now. It's the opposite now. And they know. People like John, folks, don't think they're stupid. They're not stupid. We all know that because I know I'm like that. And Mark's like that. We all know in the back of our mind, yeah, I'm going out with this girl. I wonder if she's seeing anybody else. Said no one never. Because they know. You know. You might not say it publicly, but you know. You know, folks. John Tester knows. He knows. John Tester knows that the Biden family is crooked.
Yeah.
He knows. Every Democrat in Washington, D.C. know he's a schmuck. He's crooked. He's a pervert. He's dumber in hell, but party first. They all know it, though. They all know that this spending is out of control and you can't maintain it, but they don't care. They know it. They know in the back of their mind. They know it. They know what would be good for America. They know that. Folks, do you think there's any Democrat senator or representative or Republican out there that doesn't know that an open border is bad for any country, its sovereignty, and its culture?
Mark your calendar for some great events coming to the Roadside Event Center next to the Blue Cat Bar and Grill in Huntley. On April 12th, don't miss Kellen Smith and the Nate Champion Band. Join them for dinner and music Saturday, April 19th with Clay Halos and delicious Marry Me Chicken. Tickets are only $30 and are available at the Blue Cat Bar. Remember their amazing prime rib on Fridays and loaded Bloody Marys on the weekends. The Blue Cat Bar and Grill, just 9 miles east of the Metra exit.
No. They all know, but they also know the benefits it will bring to them and their party. They also know that. Don't be stupid. Don't be blinded by these people. They all know. We all know. We're smart. We have brains. We all know. We all know. We all know. Look at your own workplace. Folks, wherever you work, you all know who has a drinking problem at work.
Remember the talk we had years ago about how many of our coworkers were pot smokers?
Yeah.
And we got to talking about it. It's like, yeah, you know.
You know. John Tester knows.
Yep.
He's a schmuck and he's a crook. He knows. They all know. Folks, let me, they're trying to make this abortion thing just such a big issue because they have nothing to run on. Great. Whatever you think is fine. You know, you vote, you're a single American. Do whatever you want. But here's the thing. Is there really any American, whether you're on pro or con, is there any real American out there in the back of their mind, even though they may vote for legislation one way, because you got to remember, they're doing all this for party and their position and their money first. Always. It always comes first. Do you think there's anybody out there that thinks that killing a child after they're born is okay? You really think in the back of their mind that they think, you know, that's a good thing. No. John Tester voted for that. He voted for infanticide when they tried to ramrod that bill through. Do you think really in the back of his mind he's thinking, you know, we're so much a better people and a better nation if we let people after babies are born kill them? There's nobody hardly at all that would think that. But they know. But you never hear these things. Tester knows. But yet, party and money and power first. It's been that way a long time. And our America is struggling. We're bankrupt. We should file Chapter 11. And that paper and our TV stations, they'll do an article on Tim Sheehy, but they won't do an article on these other guys, will they? No. Our company, all companies, my ranch, your ranch, we all struggle in these inflationary times. We all do. Government does it because the U.S. Bureau of Engraving and printing $500 million a day. The government is adding new digital numbers to their accounts every day with no growth in the economy, no product or services behind it to give it a solid foundation. And you got inflation. So the first thing we do as a government is we have a big state dinner and we invite Robert De Niro and Paul Simon and have lobster and everything else and have you folks pick up the tab for it. And then yesterday I send in my federal income tax check because you're not paying enough money. Oh, and then we're going to give all these kids a freebie with the student loan thing. You know why, folks? They know why. You know what John Tester and Chuck Schumer and the rest of them know? And you know this too. You know how most kids between the ages of 18 and 25 vote. You all know it. They know it. They know it in the back of their mind how they're going to vote. We grease them and give them $25,000 of money. We got them. That's why. If all of those kids that have student loan forgiveness would vote conservatively, there'd be no transfer of wealth.
No.
And by the way, that's not forgiveness, folks. All they've done is they've just transferred their debt to you because it has to be paid. That money was borrowed. It has to be paid. So they're taking away their obligation where they borrowed it, got the benefit and pay it, and they're switching it and moving it over then to all of us who are working now that pay the bills. So we now pay the student loan instead of the student. There is no disappearance of that debt or that money because it was already paid out for a service and good to the colleges. So they're just moving who owes. Guess what? You don't owe anymore, but we've pushed it to everybody else out of college and working. You owe that now.
You didn't go to college, but now you have college debt.
Yeah, that's what they've done. And John Tester loves that. And you vote for him. I'm sick of talking about him. It's time he go. But every day, I mean, who's not going to talk about it if you just sit here and you watch KTVQ and you watch the paper and you read their crap and they don't give equal time.
Oh, no.
There's not an equal article in here about John Tester and what he's done and struggling. Nothing in there about that.
No.
They won't do one on him. It says his aerial firefighting company report file with Securities Exchange shows that they're in debt. Well, I guess so. You know what? Last year a huge fire season in Montana? No.
Opposite.
He makes his money fighting fires.
Right.
It was a bad year last year. You know, when I have a drought or when farmers and ranchers have a drought, folks, their income goes down substantially. Our crop yields are lower. We have no grass, no hay. We have bad years then. That's good news if firefighting companies don't have the revenue that they had from the previous year.
That's right.
That's good news. Folks, if we had a gonorrhea clinic in Billings and they were struggling, that's great news. If we had a jail, folks, that they get paid by the amount of prisoners in there and they were struggling financially because we can't fill the jail up, that's great news. That's great news. And in order to beat the government, folks, you have to show that your business is losing money. Or you end up like me this week, sending in all of your profits to the federal government. Any business owner knows that. John Tester knows that. Let's look at John Tester's taxes. I'd love to see that because, you know, he wants all of you to pay your fair share. And yet that SOB tells his accountant on the phone, hey, can you find anything else to get my tax burden down? Where can I use this for a deduction? See, he's talking out of both sides of his you know what. He's telling his accountant, use every loophole, everything you can to get my tax burden down, and yet he's supporting legislation to increase taxes on everybody else. Well, you got to pay your fair share. That's John Tester. See, we all know how they think, but what they have on the inside and in their brain is different than what they... Why, by God, folks, if you died in 1970 and you came back from the dead today and you listened to John Tester, you'd say, well, hell, Irwin, he sounds like Barry Goldwater because he's running. Because he's running. So why don't you start KTVQ and
who screams fair and accurate at the top of every newscast?
Yeah, that's right. And the ones who are nonstop but on the air from 6 at night till 6 in the morning. Why don't you start being fair in your coverage of these candidates then? The paper, because they know. That's why he won't come in. He knows. I drill him on that kind of stuff. I'm not going to let him lead the conversation and spew rhetoric, try to trap an interviewer into a place where he can't get out of. Consumer prices remain elevated. That's a nice way of putting it. The story on Sheehy was originally published by the Montana Free Press. Check them out. Check them out.
Mark your calendar for some great events coming to the Roadside Event Center next to the Blue Cat Bar and Grill in Huntley. On April 12th, don't miss Kellen Smith and the Nate Champion Band. Join them for dinner and music Saturday, April 19th with Clay Halos and delicious Marry Me Chicken. Tickets are only $30 and are available at the Blue Cat Bar. Remember their amazing prime rib on Fridays and loaded Bloody Marys on the weekends. The Blue Cat Bar and Grill, just 9 miles east of the Metra exit.
Here's an article that a group of students and teachers and counselors and psychologists filed a lawsuit yesterday over a bill that changed how sexual material is taught in our schools. The law requires parental notification, allows parents to take children out if they don't like it. This group argues the law is a concerted effort by the legislature to erase the 2S-LGBTQIA plus histories and viewpoints. That's not what school's for.
No, it's not.
I'll teach my kid about sex and gender. I will. Ballots go out for the safety levy April 17th. You'll be voting on 3 school board trustees as well. That one's going to have a tough go with property taxes the way they are.
And people getting their updated, upgraded, and more expensive property tax bills.
That's going to be a tough one.
Well, and the majority of the money in that levy is for additional employees.
That's right. And those additional employees aren't the kind of employees that people thought they would be when it comes to safety.
Right.
They're all not school resource officers and guards.
No.
They're counselors, mental health experts, curriculum people to start teaching kids differently. That's going to be a tough sell. You know what they did down in Florida? Governor DeSantis down there, folks, I love this. He just signed a bill into law the other day that now makes shoplifting in Florida a felony.
Really?
Yes, it's a felony, and if you shoplift in possession of a gun, you're in even bigger trouble.
Good.
Yeah. Whereas in California and other states, you're allowed to steal up to $900 worth of stuff, and they can't do anything about it.
Right.
I wrote a very interesting article a few weeks ago about being good Samaritans, being a good citizen and stopping crime, and being the one punished and losing your job. That's something that needs to be addressed by our legislature. I brought that up in the article immediately. You cannot be fired by any company in Montana that has a Montana business license in your effort to stop a crime.
Right. That's the way it ought to be.
Yes, period. That'll never happen. Just like the property tax suggestions I have. That'll never happen. Thought of another idea for the property tax thing, too. I had 2 of them. The one is when you pay property taxes in Montana, all your property taxes are based on the purchase price of your home. It will force other people to live within their budget.
Yeah.
Just like you have to do with your income. Well, hell, if you knew your income was going to go up a certain percentage every year, and you would just increase your spending then every year, but people's incomes don't.
Right.
Number 2, once you hit 65 in the state of Montana, you're done paying property taxes. You're at retirement age. You've already paid probably for 30, 40 years on them already. No more property taxes. I got another one. We need to or if they don't like those, we need to completely eliminate them, add in a sales tax instead that can only be voted an increase by 3/4 of the legislature. And here's another thing. If they do that, all people in Montana who haven't been a resident for more than 20 years, you still have to pay property taxes. How do you like that one? People that move in to Bozeman and all these other places coming from out of state, if you haven't been a resident for 20 years, you have to pay the property taxes.
I like it.
Because well, what about people who live here wouldn't? And even if you were born here, by the time you're 20, you've already been a resident, and you buy your first house at 30, you're not going to have to pay. You're resident. So we still have a property tax revenue pool, but we are getting it from the people who have not lived here or at least paid their dues for 20 years.
Right.
Another idea throw out there. May like it, you may not.
Got an amen to no property taxes.
Yeah. Also, I talked to my daughter last night, Mallory, for a while. And as you know, she's getting married and probably not till 25. She got engaged, but she works at the Mayo Clinic out there and also is teaching at Arizona State. She teaches some medical courses now out there. And she told me last night she had a first. She gave an assignment to her kids, and they had a paper that was due. Mark, do you know that these college kids had to write a 500-word paper that was due, and they have to do one about every 3 weeks?
Don't tell me.
Yeah, I'm telling you that. Where we have a paper due every day.
At 10.
All year long since 2015. But anyway, she had her first student that did a paper and used AI to write it. Her TA caught it. And she says, I got a couple TAs that teacher's assistants. And he's really well versed into that stuff anyway, and was reading the paper, and he knew right away, the signs were there that this was an AI generated paper. And so So he used a software that they have at the colleges now. At that one, I don't know about ours, but at that one, you plug it in there and the software can determine whether that was AI generated or not. And this guy did an AI generated paper. And I said, Maury, that's going to happen now more and more.
Why wouldn't you? You're a college kid. You got a bunch of classes. Until they catch you, why wouldn't you?
And another reason, Mark, why cell phones should not be allowed in our classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's easy because in our days we used to have to write it down on a piece of paper and hide it in your shirt sleeve or something.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's, hey Siri, who invented the telephone? Isn't that nice?
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Right there, Mark. Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. Oh, but we're not going to get rid of those.
No.
But she had an AI-generated paper, and she caught it. So she wrote the guy. She emailed the guy back, and he hasn't responded yet. And I said, hell no. You know why? He can't figure out what the hell he's going to do now. He doesn't know what his next step is. I know what my step would be. That's your first warning. Mm-hmm. She reported it. They have a thing at the college where you report it to the people in charge of those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And but next time you're done, you know
that AI that's bad news.
Yes, it is. It could be good, but it could be bad, and it's just going to be one of the many things that we're going to have to deal with here in the future. So there, you got a lesson on inflation this morning. You got a lesson on animal hot flaming diarrhea this morning.
Unfair media coverage.
Got that lesson this morning in our little fireside chat that we do here every day. And after first news, which is fair and accurate, and you get the damn truth, then we go to the fun and funny part of the show where we have bull riding tickets to give away today for the PBR coming to town. Mark, you know who's in first place in the PBR standings?
Not a rodeo guy.
I don't know that either. No, I don't know that either. But
I do know we haven't heard from the guy that you told to, the little bull rider you told to get off his damn phone when we were talking to him on the air.
That's right, yeah.
You were a big deal right then.
Yeah.
Freaking conference call with people saying, well, you can't do that to our Cowboys. You're on our show. You're not being charged anything.
They didn't like that conference call either with me.
No, don't care.
That's right. Well, he lost a bull and he was trying to, and I thought, boo-hoo. You know, I deal with that stuff every day. Mm-hmm. Every day. And when Mark hits a news sounder, I don't say, I'll tell Mark I'm not quite ready yet because I'm printing. Mm-hmm. But I don't tell him, wait a minute, I can't do news yet. I'm trying to get this twin graft onto this heifer, and I'm trying to give instructions on. I don't tell him that, but we have tickets for that. These are for Friday night show too, by the way. Which is tomorrow night. So we'll blow those out here over the next day or two. Oh, and the big news is today, this is going to affect you more than most people. The Masters is delayed an hour today. Severe weather in the area. They gives them time to...
Actually, they moved it to 2 hours now.
Oh, the 2 hours, yep. Yeah. See, what did I tell you? It affects Mark more than others.
Well, so I'll be completely done with the nap before coverage starts.
Oh, well, that will work out.
This is going to be one of my better Thursdays I've ever had.
A tradition unlike any other.
That's right.
The Masters.
First news coming up, 6:13.
The Breakfast Flakes podcast brought to you by the Blue Cat Bar and Grill. Next to the Roadside Event Center in Huntley. The Blue Cat. It's where it's at.